welcome back. Today was one of those beautiful rare winter days when everything has been frozen for maybe a week and then it just turns 45 degrees and everything thaws and it was wonderfully sunny. And so I seized the day and decided to go out and do some winter gardening. Now, winter gardening is one of those things that's very low on my priority list. So a lot of times it just doesn't happen. I've gardened all summer, I've done some fall stuff, and then by the time winter comes, I'm like, over it, on to other things. But this is just the perfect day to come out and finish putting my cover crops in. I've got several beds that I have planted Austrian pea, which is a nitrogen fixing plant. And I generally chose the beds that were my least fertile beds, or beds where I have not planted a pea or a legume or a bean in the last 3 years. I practice rotational crops, so I try not to put the same plant in any one bed for, usually I do a 3-year rotation, so it's like once every 4 years. Winter is also the time that I let my birds in the garden. Now, generally they get a little freaked out when I'm out here with them because I've shooed them out of the garden all summer long. When I'm actively bringing stuff in and out of the garden, I have the gate open and they think that's great and they love to come in the garden. But wintertime I let them in here. They can kick the hay around, they mulch stuff, they're actually really beneficial. They poo, they scratch, they eat worms, they aerate the soil, they mix up some of the straw that I throw down just to preserve the soil quality. It's a mulch that I just leave. I don't pick it up in the spring. When I do plant, I'll just move a little bit of it aside, but a lot of it will break down between now and planting time. So I leave it. It also suppresses the weeds. I didn't do it for years and years. In the last couple years I've done it, and basically in the spring there's no bed prep. There's just no weeds. There's just nothing to do. And so without putting straw down, that's not the case. It's a pretty major weed fest before I can even put little seeds in the ground. So for me, putting straw down is huge. Now, you do want to know whether you're buying hay or straw. Straw is the stem, hay has the seeds. You do not want hay unless you want to plant a wheat field. So don't make that mistake and be very certain that what you're getting is seed-free straw. Today is December 3rd or 4th, and I just went ahead and finished planting my winter garlic. Now, here in Oregon, I'm at zone 7B, and so it's fairly temperate. We can grow garlic in the spring. I can plant it first thing in the spring, and that's fine, but we can also plant it now, which it has a longer growing season, obviously, because it goes through the cold, kind of dormant parts of winter. However, you get a jump start in the spring and you can harvest garlic maybe a month to a month and a half earlier than the spring planted stuff. So that's one of the crops that I put in. I'm going to toss in a few seeds for some brassicas and probably broccoli, cabbage, and some more kale. And those seeds, if we have a mild winter, will start popping up in January, February, late January, February. Some years I've planted them and we had a super mellow winter, and I was harvesting broccoli at the end of February, which is really crazy and fantastic. So it just takes about 20 minutes of my time to plant them, and it's just a few dollars worth of seeds. So it's definitely worth the gamble for me in my zone. Now, if I put Reemay down, or if I put like ground cloth, cover cloth, I could probably definitely guarantee a brassica harvest late winter, early spring. So I'm going to just pan around the garden and show you some of the beds. I love this time of year because everything is so open and it's so quiet, and it's like everything is sleeping and it's all cozy, and I throw down the straw and it's like putting a winter blanket over the garden, and the birds are out here in force getting seeds. The hummingbirds are everywhere. Here in Oregon we have Anna's hummingbirds, and they're non-migratory. They stay around all winter long, and I think I'll do that. I'll make a time lapse or a slow-mo at the feeder. You can hear that sound. That's the hummingbirds, and they're super territorial. The males guard the feeders all day long. That's all they do, is guard the feeders. And the juveniles they don't really have that sense of hierarchy yet, and so they go to the feeder without thinking about the protector male, and then there's a fight, and it's nonstop. It's pretty unbelievable. We've got a feeder at that end of the house and a feeder at this end of the house, and across the kitchen window I just see them like zoom, 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 zoom all day long. It's really fantastic. Earlier when I was planting garlic, I dug up potatoes. I'm like, oh, potatoes. There's some more winter squash that was under the straw, the early straw that I put down. So I'm going to go ahead and roast those and turn them into a soup. It's really nice being out here on these beautiful days. And now that everything's cleaned up, all my caneberries have been staked up and wound around. The only thing I have yet to do is kind of trellis and tame my grape arbor a little bit. But it's so nice to just have everything out here done and just sleeping, waiting for springtime. And with the soil covered, it just saves a ton of work come springtime. And it takes, it takes a day, but it takes probably 7 or 8 days to weed the whole thing. So definitely worth your investment in the fall. It's not the garden of summer and spring and the bounty and the abundance, but it's got its own beauty just as it is. I love sleeping gardens. I think they're really wonderful. There's more space here, and it feels more open and kind of wild in the winter than it does in the summer. Thank you, all of you who've been interested in my garden and been asking for a garden update. At this point, once I get the brassica seeds in the ground, there's not a whole lot more I'll do. I may get some Reemay and just cover them. We live in a super windy place, and so I haven't had a lot of success with covering my garden long term. So I think I'll just get some 2x4s, staple the Reemay to it, give them a couple flips, and then maybe just put a couple little hoops in the ground and just cover them that way. Now, gardening is one of those skills that you have to learn from doing. You can learn a lot from books, but you will be very, very limited until you actually go out there and dig in the dirt and plant, and you watch things happen and evolve over seasons. There are so many factors. You have weather, you have soil, you have sun, water, you have plants interacting with other plants in ways that we don't fully understand. So it's so valuable when you have a community of gardeners, a community of farmers sharing information with one another, because I have learned so much from other gardeners. So if you have a garden or you have a farm and you plant in the winter, let me know your zone and what your planting strategy is, what you do, what you plant when you start, and how early in the spring you start planting. I'll probably do my peas and beans sometimes late February, early March. So it's really wonderful to see what other people are growing, and just because it's winter doesn't mean that you can't have a garden. A lot of us can, and even people in colder climates can, if you build hoop houses, utilize ground cover and that sort of thing. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.